This is the Reseller Rising Show with PvP from NJ. This is a journey of a newbie full-time reseller. The highs, lows, wins, fails, and insight of a startup entrepreneur. Here's PvP.
This is the September income report. Where I thought that August was brutal, September was that times two. I'm starting to see the effects of relisting all the Amazon items because it's like I said, mostly books, CDs, DVDs, some toys, but what I have mostly in Amazon are books. And that stuff, relisting it on eBay has, like I said, kept my eBay store active, but the sales have been, non-existent. And there was I think I've been talking about this on both YouTube and on Facebook, where I think that the Pope's visit did something to the reselling community because I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but for like the days that he was here, like I had absolutely no sales on both platforms, which I don't think has ever happened like for such a long stretch. So blame it on the Pope, for those 4 days. But September was definitely not so great. It started off with a bang. It started off really good, really strong. But like the second half, I guess, of September, it was just like drips and drops here and there. But here is the September income report. Now, I'm a little back and forth about like reporting my income now that I'm working, my job income, but I've been very straight up with everyone here. So, I'm going to go ahead and state what I earn in my job. My goal is to definitely make more on eBay and FBA, than I'm making at my job in the long term. That's my goal 100%. I've mentioned earlier in the podcast that I had to go ahead and take in some debt just to stay afloat, just to stay alive. Well, hopefully with a combination of the reselling business and with the work pay, I'll be able to fully pay all that debt off. And when in the month of October, this is my goal for October, and then I can finally get back to actual sourcing stuff for both of those platforms in November, right in the heat of Q4, right in the middle of it there. So let's see what happens. But here is the report. My September costs altogether came out to about $2,315.15. Now, the monies made for the month of September altogether were $1,270.09. That being a difference of about $1,045.06. And that reason alone tells you why I had to go about borrowing money just to stay afloat. If, of course, my costs and the money's made such a big difference, such a huge gap compared to the last 3 months where it was around the $425 mark for July and August, and now this month is over $1,000. So what this tells me is definitely once I start getting back into sourcing, and as I've said many times before, definitely going to focus on clothing for eBay, because that has definitely been the moneymaker for me in the past. And eBay, I'm going to focus on clothing for eBay, and for FBA, I think I'm going to start changing my game up a little bit because I'm really not doing crazy money on FBA, and others who have less items than I do are making much more money. But the thing is, I just don't know if I want to get into electronics, really. I mean, I could see maybe doing toys, maybe doing some retail arbitrage, but not a lot, because like I said, the margins there are not that great. But maybe just focusing more on toys and maybe some video game stuff, as opposed to going full on with electronics. Because electronics, I just feel like just the return rate on FBA is big. Like I said, I could be wrong, but that's just my general feeling with electronics and FBA. So I think what I'm going to start focusing on is toys. And I know every single podcast I'm always talking about a new plan, but the Craigslist Hunter, he recently had a fantastic video about why people so many people fail at the reselling business. And one of his key points was always having a plan and always tweaking what works, like tweaking what works and what doesn't work. And I've been doing books now for a few months, and books, they do bring in money, but as I said before, you have to cast a really, really wide net. And I think for books to bring me over $1,000 or more, I think I have to have, like I already have like 1,100 items now. I think I have to get up to 4,000 or 5,000 items, and that could take a few years. And I think maybe sourcing toys cheap at thrift stores and stuff like that, and video game stuff as well, maybe through Craigslist, can go ahead and maybe net a better return just moving forward without having to get up to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 items. So moving forward, I think I'm going to go ahead and focus on that. But September was brutal. September was definitely brutal, and it's like the worst month so far in terms of eBay sales and FBA sales. The worst month that I've had since I've started reporting the income. Like I've said, I expect those numbers to radically change in the coming months. Us being in in Q4 pretty much. Like this is being recorded in the beginning of October, so we are in the beginning of Q4 now, and let's see what happens. To see all my monies earned and my costs for the month of September broken down, I'll have a graphic, an image that I've made, and that's going to be on my blog. So I invite you to pass by there and pvpfromnj.com. In the show notes of this either YouTube video or podcast, there'll be a direct link to that, and you can see what was happening. You can see all the action that went on in September. I've had second guesses and second thoughts about talking about how much I make at my job, but like I've said before, I want to be transparent with the listeners for the simple fact that you're listening, and I really appreciate that. And I will be talking about the figures and how much I make at my job right now. And what I've noticed, and I was talking about this with my aunt and uncle a couple of weeks ago. Living in these big cities with a union job, the pay is definitely more than it would be with the same kind of job in many other states that are not kind of like the big cities. And I am fortunate in that sense that I have that, because I know that if I didn't have this particular union job right now, like literally the same exact job that I'm doing, I'd be earning a lot less. So I am grateful for that. I know the cost of living in other states is definitely cheaper, but then there's that balance. Like you can make all this money here in this one state, then have a cost of living that's cheaper, maybe living in another state. But the whole commuting and the whole getting from point A to point B would be just incredibly tough. And this is where a location-independent business, like I had talked about before, comes into play, where if you can make the money that you would in a big city, but live in some rural area, or even live in a place just where the cost of living is a lot cheaper, that's the dream, right? Even though I actually like living in the big city just because of the convenience and all the things that are available. But I'm not opposed to like living someplace else for periods at a time. I do like to move. I do like to live in different places. But building a location-independent business, like I said, is the ultimate dream. It's 100%. I guess the guys on the Internet Business Mastery podcast talk about often just having the location-independent business. It would be amazing. It truly would be, because that way you can live anywhere where the cost of living is dirt cheap. What if you live like in Thailand or Southeast Asia, or like where, I mean, the dollar goes so far, and you're making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month regularly. Like, I mean, that would be crazy. So like I said, that's that is the ultimate goal, whether it be reselling or anything. Just that's the ultimate entrepreneurial goal, is to have that. I think you can do that with Kindle, and I think that you can do that with FBA living in the States. Kindle, you could actually do that anywhere in the world. FBA living in the States, And eBay is the one that brings the fastest money, though, but it's not so location independent. It can be, I guess, depending on the size of items. Like if you sell so many of a few particular items that you can carry with you, maybe like I know Dallas Moore, he does a lot of photographs, but man, I mean, how many photographs do you have to sell to make $3,000-$4,000? But like, what if you sold like photographs and ties? I've heard Andrew Picking Profits talk about that as well. But I would love to see more people doing that. I'd like to talk to people that are doing that really have a location-independent lifestyle, that make the bulk of their money, let's say through eBay or something like through eBay, but have a mobile lifestyle. I'd love to hear more about that. Another just random thought, very interesting thought. I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan. Vaynerchuk. I always say Vaynerchuk fan. And he just came out with a video, which I just literally finished watching, about how it's never too late to go ahead and make your entrepreneurial dreams kind of happen. And I am gonna definitely put a little excerpt of that in this podcast coming up. I'm gonna put that in right here.
So stop making excuses. Oh, these millennial kids are so entitled. Oh, these kids didn't have to work as hard as we did. Nobody cares if you're 40, 70, 90, alien, female, male, minority. The market will accept your victories if you're good enough to have a victory. And I believe more than ever that if you're a 49-year-old housewife with 2 kids, because of this phone, you've got more opportunities to create something for yourselves. Please, my friends, do not allow just the 18 and 14 and 22-year-olds to grab at this pie that is so available to all of us, regardless of our age. We're gonna live longer. The opportunity is real. For the 58-year-old right now that's watching this, you're gonna live another 40 years. 40 years of being able to do something you love is a big deal. Start putting in the work. Start recognizing this isn't just a young person's game. Start representing the people that actually put in the work, the gray hairs, that context, that knowledge. Start deploying that. Educate yourself on the new world. Yes, you didn't grow up with Instagram. You didn't grow up driving, and you learned that. Stop making excuses. Start getting educated in the actual world and start opening up the opportunities. In my true opinion, you are actually more likely to be successful in building a company at 45, 50 today than the 18-year-olds that are coming out because there's a naivete, a lack of experience. You have experience. You have experience. Like, that's a real thing. Like, cool. Like, youth and excitement is great. You have actual business experience. There's a plenty amount of talent. There's plenty amount of talent. And there's a ton of fire and bravado. And there's a confidence. There's a confidence that youth provides. The difference between me and so many of you is I've put in the goddamn work to learn where people's attention now is, and I'm deploying myself through there. Many of you have drawn a line in the sand and say, I'm not downloading Snapchat. I'm not downloading Instagram. And that, my friends, is gonna allow you to lose. This video is made for one reason. I want it to be the calling card, the seed of the explosion of the 40 to 80-year-old entrepreneur in our society.
So motivational, so inspirational. Like I've said before, turned 40, and this gives you, extra gas to go ahead and want to even do something even more. I mean, there are folks that have children, and there are folks that have debt and that have major bills, and there are folks that they're older and the kids are out the house, and that they have some time and maybe some money to do something with, and why not to spend the next 20, 30, 40 years, like the video is talking about, like doing something else, like building a business and doing something that you really enjoy doing. And that is incredibly appealing to me. I was just reading about this in the last couple of days, and I always talk about health and diet in this podcast because, like I've said before, I really feel that if you're fueling the body, if you're giving the body good fuel, if you're giving the body good stuff, it's going to serve you the way you need it to serve you. But if you're just giving it like crap or not taking care of it, you're going to feel like crap and you're not going to be very productive. And one of the things I recently discovered, I'm the one that's late to the party, is food combining. Eating particular kinds of food that basically digesting well, I guess, is the best way to put it. It breaks down in 3 categories for me in terms of the research I was doing. It breaks down into like proteins, and that would be like dairy, like meat, nuts. It breaks down into starches and fats. That'd be kind of like butter, avocado, grains like corn, and then the last category will be fruit, just like either a sweet fruit or acidic fruit. And according to the information I was reading about food combining, it's just good to go ahead and kind of like eat in these kind of food groups because it really helps your digestion. And what is the end game of the food combining? As I've said before, if you take care of your insides in terms of the stomach from just overworking all the time and just trying to break down a bunch of stuff, like it's going to last a while. And in your insides lasting, your stomach and your gut, that lasting for a long period of time, like it'll make you last for a long period of time. And Lord knows, I'm not one that wants to commit suicide and get depressed or nothing like that because time is short and I have a lot that I want to do. So food combining is the thing that I'm doing now. I'm still doing the fasting, so I'm assuming in between the food combining and the fasting, the eating the 1 meal a day with the food combining, that it's going to definitely go ahead, and my hopes are, make me like live a little longer, make me work a little longer, and give me time, give me energy to go ahead and make happen what I want to make happen. I've already done it for the last couple of days, and I feel great. Like, in terms of the food digestion, before I would just eat a bunch of different things in one sitting. With the fasting, just the 1 meal a day, eat a bunch of things. And I would notice, like, when I would go to work overnight or just during the day, like, I'd be super gassy. Food would sometimes even, like, come up. It didn't feel good in terms, I could feel, like, parts of my body, like, kind of working and struggling and stuff. So, like, after these last 2 days of the food combining, like, I've felt really, really good. Have not had little to no gas. And let's go ahead and see how this continues. I've been doing the fasting now for a few weeks since I've mentioned it in the last podcast, and that feels great. Like, I really just do not get that hungry with like I said, sipping on my drink, and sometimes even then I can go 12, 15 hours without like feeling any kind of hunger. But it's definitely this method is definitely helping me out, and I'm always updating when it comes to health because it's something that I'm always very interested in, and just want to find the best way that I can operate, that I can function at a high level and still continue to get things in. And like I said, I love to share this information with you in the hopes that everyone is different and not everything is going to work for everyone. But if you think that this is going to work for you, try it. Do your own research and maybe even see a doctor first if you need to. But it's working for me, and I feel pretty good. Other resellers in the reselling community, sometimes they criticize maybe their followers or other resellers because maybe an item that's worth a lot more than it's supposed to be, they end up selling it at some bottom basement bargain bin price where it seems like they're losing their shirt. But then sometimes these same sellers, they'll go ahead and have a 50% sale on eBay just to start getting things moving if nothing is moving. And this definitely has surprised me when I see some resellers / YouTubers that I really respect talking about that they're running 50% off sales on merchandise. I'm saying if you're running 50% off sales on merchandise, maybe they've added things up and maybe they've done the math where they can still get a decent return, decent to little return. But I mean, why criticize everybody else if they're selling things at bargain basement prices? I agree with the resellers / YouTubers that if you're selling things at super bargain basement prices and hardly making any profit on it, then that is a mistake of that particular person. yeah, what money are you making if you're selling something that's worth $100 and selling it for $20 shipped? And if you're doing that consistently, like, that's just a bad business decision. So I guess I kind of answered my own question. I saw a couple of folks on Facebook, and also I guess it's some resellers. Like I was watching Global Voodoo Mike's, which he taught me how to do FBA, and I enjoy when he goes in his rants. I love it. It's just so entertaining. And he's talking about how he was running 50% off sales, and I know he's criticized folks in the past for selling things under their value. But when resellers that came out running 50% off sales, that's like, wow, to me personally, because it's somebody I look up to. And if they're talking about that they're doing that just to get things moving, 50% off is a lot to me, I think. But it's just a good thing to keep in my back pocket that even the biggest resellers, they'll sell things at bargain basement prices just to get things moving for periods at a time. Which is, I think, just a good thing, a good observation, just to kind of keep in your pocket. Another thing I wanted to talk about is Steve Rakin, who has shown me multiple ways how to make money. When I started first getting into reselling and just thinking about even doing this full time, he's one of the first people I started to watch on YouTube, and he showed me so much. I know he did a video about like pillows, and of course I've purchased multiple products of his. One of the things I'm trying to do through the podcast, through YouTube, like I said, it's a slow growth, but is kind of build that system where you put out enough content and people, they like you, they grow to trust you, and they're willing to buy from you. And Steve has definitely had that effect on me, where I've purchased multiple products of his in terms of his clothing guides, multiple clothing guides. I've purchased both of them. I've purchased the Kindle Business Academy as well from him, and the work that Cody Hawk did with the Kindle and publishing. And I think he was a big part of the reason why I joined the Green Room. I think he's very sincere, and like I said, I'm forever grateful to him for showing me multiple ways of how to make money. Like him added on to the rest of the reselling community is giving me a world of education, and I'm very grateful to him. I think my only criticism of Steve Rakin is, he's only one man, and his popularity and fandom continues to grow, over time. But I just feel maybe a little bit slighted, because where's the support for all the people that follow you with all these other things like the vending machines and the Kindle, and now he's on FBA. But where is the support for the people who were following you all this other time for all this other stuff? It just seems like they were just kind of like left behind, kind of sort of. But I'm sure he's just one man. He cannot pay attention to everyone who's followed him along this course. But I just feel a way about that right there in terms of the support for folks who have followed him with these other business ventures. And they're just sometimes not even mentioned anymore, just kind of moving on to the next thing. And everyone, of course, has a right to move on to the next thing and, grow. And he's a person, he's a human being. And, we all want to just do something else. We don't want to do the same thing forever. But I guess that would just be my only criticism of him. But I've been watching his videos. I'm a subscriber. I don't watch every single thing because it's a lot. I'm a subscriber. I'm a loyal subscriber. I enjoy his content. I watch it often. And I think what brought this about is he recently came out with a video talking about why he left eBay, which I think to his fans, myself, is definitely overdue. He's part of the reason why I started to do eBay. So to hear his closure from his point of view about why he left eBay and moved on was great for sure. But those are my 2 cents. Global Voodoo Mike and Steve Rakin both been incredibly influential to me and my reselling business, and things I pick and things I source, and even just how to run my business. And these are 2 people that I've watched for over a year now. I think it's even been more than that, but and I'm going to continue to watch because I definitely find that their content brings great value to me and to my business.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Visit pvpfromnj.com for more. Keep making that popcorn pop.